Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I'm a 23-year-old female. My sister, 20, have never been close to each other. It's not just the difference in interest, but also our age gap that made us not really get along from the very start. My parents made countless efforts to make us get along, and initially we would too, tried to get along for their sake. But at the end, after middle school ended for my sister, we had decided to stop putting the effort altogether. This is where our distance grew and my sister bloomed. My sister got extremely popular in our high school, hung out with the popular crowd, and became the cheerleading group leader. I was extremely happy for her as I knew this is what she wanted. However, I did not know that my parents would let the popularity she was getting act as a weapon against me, to make me feel small. You see, my high school experience was terrifying. I was bullied all throughout my high school by not only my classmates but also by my own teachers. I cried myself to sleep every night and begged my parents to let me change high schools, but my parents refused. This led to my grades dropping along with my mental health. It was like I knew I was going to be scarred and traumatized for a long time. School ends, unexpectedly so. My parents are disappointed in my grades. They refused to pay for my college unless I was going to enroll in a community college close by, and that being my only option, I decided to get into a college which is close by. I'm terrified of college too, because of my previous experience, but thankfully enough, as I meet amazing friends and supportive professors, my grades start to improve and I am genuinely enjoying life. Unfortunately, this does not last long as my sister makes sure to remind me that I will never be able to forget my past in high school and move on from it. This is around the time that my sister gets popular and popular day by day. She does decently with her grades, but her social life booms greatly, and my parents are extremely proud of her because she did not turn out like me. I think that's understandable as my younger self thinks that no parent would want a failure of a child like me. My parents start to favor my sister over me and make sure to let me know that they do through their words. This hurts me deeply, but I make sure to not show it to my face as younger me believed that this is what I deserved. Despite this, my sister continued avoiding me and would avoid me even when my parents treated me this way in front of her. I would think that this was more than enough for me because it was better than being tormented by my family member. I start to save up money to move out at this point because my parents make it evident that my presence is no longer needed. Around this time, I meet Aaron, who is a new student in my class. He sits beside me during the first day itself and we start to talk. Eventually, we became best friends and he became like a rock in my life. Him and I start to open up to each other about our lives, our problems and our shortcomings, and he's like the first person I feel like understands me. By the time we come to our second year of college, we realize we have developed feelings for each other and start to go out. At this point, I also decided to move out of my parents' house and move in with Aaron. My contact with my parents has decreased and is almost non-existent with my sister. We still keep in touch every once in a while, meet during Christmas and Thanksgiving, and our relationship is as cordial as it can be. Years pass by this way, and the only thing that really changes is my parents' relationship with my sister. This is due to the fact that even with my parents' high hopes, my sister's grades aren't the best. So she has to get into a community college like me too, and that is where Erin and my sister start to hang out when she's in her first year and we're in our last. Surprisingly, my sister starts to open up to me too during this period, and I think that this is great. These hangouts between Erin and my sister turn into all three of us chilling at our apartment every other week, and eventually this small group of ours gets an additional member, that is, Jaden, who is my sister's boyfriend, and also a friend of Erin in the second year. Well, I think this is great. I have good friends, my relationship with my sister and parents has slightly improved, and my relationship with my boyfriend is amazing. My sister too seems happy with Jaden. Things go by like this and we all continue to grow and face life. I wouldn't say my relationship with my sister improved more than ever during this time, but I would say that I could definitely trust her a bit. which is why when it was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary and I had started to plan a party for them, my sister, along with Jaden and Aaron, were the only people to know. Even though I was the only one paying for the party, I knew I needed help to organize the entire celebration, and my sister seemed to be very enthusiastic throughout the planning. She took over the catering and the slideshow that we were planning for the event, as Aaron and Jaden and I split decorations, venue, and other miscellaneous things between the three of us. We planned this event for months, and yesterday was finally the time for the big day to take place. Jaden convinces my parents that he is taking them to dinner and drives them to the party. I'm extremely excited, and so is my sister. She showed me the slideshow she made, and I was extremely happy to see all the lovely pictures she had gathered of us. Well, my parents get into the party hall and are surprised, overjoyed and in tears to see the surprise we had put up for them. They're even happier that they could meet some of their friends all the way back from high school, and we all start celebrating. The party goes well as expected until it's time my parents cut the cake. We had planned to display the slideshow before the cake cutting, and that is what happened, but I was shocked to see the images that were being projected on the projection screen. It takes me a second to read the conversation along with the guests, and I gasp aloud with the guests as I slowly realize what this is all about. The screenshots are of my conversations with Jaden, which are extremely sexual in nature. I am shocked because I have never had any sort of relationship with Jaden except for a friendly one. Well, it takes a bit of explanation by my relatives to my parents to understand what really is going on, and honestly, convincing my parents is the last thing I was thinking about, as I was first focused on Jaden, who was as shocked as me to look at the slideshow. I tried finding Aaron in the hall, but he's nowhere to be seen. Before I tried to ring him up, my parents start screaming at me. Not Jaden, but just me for being a homewrecker. I'm already in tears because I knew this is where it was about to go. My older relatives had some of their own comments which are too derogatory to even write it out here. Jaden keeps trying to convince everyone that things are not as they seem, and every single one present there tells him that he does not need to be scared because they know that I lured him into this. My parents stood there numb for a while before calling me a failure of a daughter, and they were right to favor my sister over them and leave. I tried to get a hold of my sister, who is way behind controlling the slideshow with her laptop. They storm off the party, and I go to talk to my sister, who just laughs and makes me feel like I'm talking to a wall. I decide to leave too, as I know there is absolutely no point in being here because no one was ever going to believe me. I keep trying to call Aaron, who just keeps rejecting my call one after the other before switching off his phone. I eventually met Jaden near the party hall, and he swore up and down that he had no idea about the situation, and although my sister and him were having a tough patch currently, he did not really know why and where this came from. Well, I know there's not much Jaden and I can do, so we both leave to drive ourselves home. I'm really not sure what will happen at the party, as I'm no longer interested in it. Once I get home, I find my things packed outside, and I try to knock on the door to see if Aaron is there, but the house seems empty. I am lost and confused currently, as I'm not sure what to make of this situation. I've booked myself a hotel room, but I know I cannot be here for long because I know I would need to talk to him at one point or the other. WIBTA if I go to my husband's office to try to talk to him about this entire situation? Was this entire situation really my fault? I can't think straight currently and would really appreciate any advice. It's been a day since everything went down, and things seemed like they were dead silent until I received a call from Jaden. He told me that he needed to meet me, and we set up a time and place. Around this time, I received a single message from Aaron which says, "I have found everything out. Please do not bother to contact me." I feel a pit in my stomach, but at the same time, I honestly start to feel like it's me who is the real victim in this situation because none of my family wants to listen to me, even once. Well, I just decided to go and meet Jaden because at this point, he is really the only person that I can talk to without being blamed for a million things. So Jaden and I meet, and the information he reveals to me puts me in utter shock. He tells me that when he left the party along with me, he wasn't kicked out of the house, but it was my sister who had left so that Jaden could collect his things and leave. While he was at it, he saw my boyfriend pick my sister up. For some reason, this raised red flags in his mind, even though this wasn't really the first time they both were hanging out together or something. No, but this time my brother expected my sister to go to her parents, since she was cheated on. Well, he starts packing his things and finds that for some reason, my sister has left her laptop in the house. This was the same laptop she had used to present the slideshow on. This laptop was kind of shared between my sister and Jaden, as it was like an extra one that they just used if they ever needed it. It was originally brought by my sister, so she would use it more often than Jaden, but he knew the password of the laptop. Well, this time Jaden had thought differently, as he believed this time my sister would have definitely changed the password. Well, have you all ever heard of someone being so smart, but yet so dumb at the same time? I think that is exactly what my sister is, because not only did she not change her password, but also had logged herself into her spare email account where she did her dirty business. Jaden showed me screenshot after screenshot of emails back and forth between my boyfriend and my sister, talking smack about Jaden and I, planning this entire ordeal, and also have NSFW conversations. These emails also had addresses to hotels, clubs, and malls, where I assumed they met up to hook up. These texts also revealed why my sister and Aaron had decided to create such drama. It was because of the fact that Jaden had been growing suspicious of my sister being too much on the phone. This is a completely different story because in the same email account, she's found to have an affair with a completely different guy along with Aaron. In the conversations with him, she discusses how she was sorry because she had to switch from Instagram to email because her boyfriend was too controlling. Reading all of this puts me in shock and sadness, but also rage. I get a similar reaction from Jaden before he reveals to me yet another chain of emails that she has had with a guy who she paid to get these texts professionally photoshopped. I am dumbfounded at the stupidity and utter lengths my sister can go so that she can keep sleeping with different people. I honestly feel like if I look at Aaron right now, I would laugh at him because the girl he decided to shatter his years and years worth of relationships for is cheating on him as well. And it's well deserved. Jaden had told me that he will be going to see my parents soon and that I could accompany him if I want to. I reject instantly as I feel like something has taken over me. This something just makes me feel like I do not want to mend things with these people who have spent their entire lives making me miserable. I really do not need them in my life. I do not need their apologies, their acceptance, or their love. I just want peace in my life, which I'm not sure how I'll get, but I will try to figure out a way. Jaden sat my parents down and explained them the entire situation. For some reason, according to him, they did not seem surprised but shocked. The reason behind this was revealed by my father, who told Jaden that my sister and Aaron had stopped by to tell my parents that they might have a thing for each other. Apparently, Aaron and my sister bonded with each other intensely after being cheated on, and it was only a couple of days ago that they confessed it to each other. Of course, my parents cheered this act of bravery and encouraged them to date so as to move on from us. Jaden laughed at their faces as he explained them the entire situation, showing them the screenshots and also explaining the various holes that came into the screenshots that my sister showed them, such as the alleged timings that we met not matching up and a few more details. According to Jaden, my parents sat there stunned, unable to speak, and that is when Jaden gave them a piece of his mind, telling them how disgusting parents they are for shaming only me instead of the both of us and siding with my sister so quickly. I believe my parents were letting everything sink into them because they did not utter a word against Jaden, but in fact kept apologizing to him. Jaden has decided to cut my parents off and has informed them that I'll be doing the same. He also told them to let Aaron and my sister know that all the ties between them and us are over. My parents were shocked when they heard that I was too cutting them off and instantly started blowing up my phone even when Jaden wasn't done speaking. I knew the reason why these calls were coming, but I just ignored them. I have decided to take up a job outside my city in the same company I worked at. I've recently lost a lot of money in wedding anniversary party and also cutting the lease short. I have not met Aaron as of yet and never really plan to do so, as Jaden and I will be the ones picking out my things out of the house tomorrow itself. Well, he's at work. If I end up seeing him, I know I have to try my best to not slap him. As for Jaden, he is simply just moving houses. He's a great guy who has great things going for him in this city itself, so it is totally understandable. My sister calls him daily, crying, and he refuses to pick up any of her calls. He's talked to her a few times, though, and apparently she is disowned by my parents. Shocker, right? Well, apparently years of favoritism is accepted in this household, but not cheating because both of my parents have faced that. It's all just funny to me at this point. But anyways, I've gotten myself into therapy because a lot of you suggested for me to do so, as I was struggling with a lot of self-image issues. Tomorrow is my first session, so wish me luck. Thank you all for reading. NTA, parents are toxic, and I don't understand why OP decided to throw such a huge party. If I was OP, the fact that I would even consider giving them a card would be a lot. I think you should wait until your boyfriend reaches out to you honestly, but it would be an idea to check up on him at his workplace as well. NTA, can we all just talk about how the relatives only shamed OP, but not the sister's boyfriend? OP is living around horrible people, to say the least. Get yourself some therapy and cut off these people. The boyfriend is not it for cutting off OP without trying to hear her out. I'm a 25-year-old male. I've been sharing my apartment with my friend Alex for 4 years. About 2 months ago, Alex asked if I was willing to let a friend of his named Sophie move in with us. I agreed because I planned to make a down payment on a house and move out within 2 years. By having Sophie around, she could take my place and make it so that Alex does not have to worry about any increases in expenses. When Sophie moved in, things were good for 2 weeks until I had to leave for work. This was when she learned that I was a minor and leave for 2 weeks at a time. When I got back, my problems with her began when she would constantly talk about climate change. She would constantly try to educate us on how and why we should change our habits. The real frustration was when she started going after me and my job. She would constantly say that within 10 years I will have no job. This was accompanied by having this ridiculous and false notion that I am poor and work for minimum wage. To try and help me, she would constantly give me college program pamphlets and job postings to find a better job. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she brought her parents into this. Sophie made her parents think I am poor, which resulted in them calling me to discuss financial assistance. After declining their help and ending the call, I was absolutely livid. I then sat Sophie down and said that all her talk about my job, finances, and education is really pissing me off, and to drop it. In response, she said that she is just trying to help someone worse off. This is when I snapped at her and was not only told her my salary, but proof I make $100,000 a year. I then flipped the tables on her and went after her degree in environmental justice. I said that it was worthless and she might as well start working at McDonald's to pay off her debt, as she will never get a real job. After our argument, we didn't really speak with each other until after I returned from my next work period. Upon returning this week, she started demanding I pay more for rent, as I make more, and that I should apologize for what I said to her. I refused and said that she doesn't like me or the arrangements, she's free to leave any time. Am I the AH here? Ask her why she never offered to pay more rent than you do when she assumed you were basically destitute. Is it only okay to divide rent up based on income when it means other people would pay more than she does? NTA at all.